said, according as his divine power has given unto us all things that pertain unto life and godliness. So what I'm calling people's attention to is everything we need for godliness, everything we need for health and life has been provided. We need to identify those things and see how those things are being taken away from us. For instance, they started irradiating the meat and taking away essential amino acids.
And spraying viruses on the meat. They spray special viruses on the meat. Folks, I'm not joking.
Right. And then you've got your genetic modification of things. This all works together because you have beef and grain monopolies. You have these bloodlines having food cartels. These cartels have gone way back for, families like Cargill, Bundy, Bunge, McMillan, Andre, Agnelli, Nestle, Riconti. These families go way back hundreds of years. And so the food supply being controlled plays a role in the next stage, which is the medical system being controlled, all working together.
Well, think how cold-blooded it is. They know there's a backlash against fluoridation. So now it's everywhere. Fluoride your kids. I was in CVS yesterday, and they had loudspeakers going saying, get your church or your work discounts with the flu shot. Flu ads everywhere. Fluoride for babies everywhere. They know devastates their brain. Aspartame gum. I mean, this is so cold-blooded. They just want to hurt people.
Yes, and if you don't follow the program, then they have ways to come and monitor that. And for instance, when I was teaching school, when I was Amish, the county discovered this parochial school, and this lady, county official, came in and she said, I want you to provide me the names of all the parents who are not getting all of the shots for their children. Well, I had some parents that, due to their conscience, would not allow their children to have all of these shots. And so I couldn't, in good conscience, provide her. I was not going to be the enforcer for the system. And I did not give her the names of those families.
Listen, I went to buy a kayak yesterday, and they have at Academy, and they want you to fill out all this stuff about you and your all this data. And I said no, and they said, well, the police like to have it. I mean, this country, you can't even buy a little boat now because you might be a terrorist. I mean, it's so ridiculous, Fritz. But then it's admitted that Al-Qaeda works for the U.S. government in the news. I mean, it's just all hiding in plain view. How much crazier? What do you expect from your research is about to happen with all the world meltdowns and world government being announced and the media admitting Bilderberg runs things? And I mean, with all this craziness, what's going to happen next?
Well, the biggest thing that's facing us here in America is the destruction of our money. And when our dollar is worthless, that's going to have so many wide-ranging ramifications, including riots. That's why you see a lot of things being done to prepare for riots. Our whole lives are going to be turned upside down. And because of that, people need to start listening to the kind of things that you're telling them. They need to start taking. They need to be responsible for their own health. Don't depend upon the medical system, which is really not there to help you anyway. It's there to make money for the people that control it. They need to start identifying those things out there, the products out there that will give them health. There's been a lot of research, clear back in the 70s when I visited Mexico. in Tijuana, there was like 15 different cures being practiced in Tijuana to help people with cancer.
Well, I know there are treatments that work better statistically than the chemotherapy and burning things, and one man's cure is another man's disease, but there's certainly a lot of suppressed healthcare things. I mean, look at this out of Orlando. Look at this article right here. Deputies, man says he shot deer from roadway to feed family. And that happened during the Great Depression. I mean, there's deer like roaches in Florida, Texas, all over. Just let them get run over. Let them starve to death. A Collier County man accused of shooting 2 deer says he needed to feed his family. Jail records show 41-year-old Wilford Castillo was arrested Friday on charges of unlawful taking a doe deer, discharging a firearm from a public roadway, and felony trespassing by projectile. His court date is June 11th. And again, I'm not saying it's good that he was shooting deer off a roadway, but meanwhile, all these mass crimes are being committed. Corzine's stealing billions. Obama's giving billions to energy companies knowing it's a fraud. All that's fine, though. I mean, we're entering this phase that tyrants like to set up where they just get everybody to go, okay, they're tyrants, but that's just, they're the boss. And everybody's like a spectator. I mean, is there a way to break people out of this malaise, Fritz?
I believe so. Like the scripture says, the truth shall make you free, and you shall be free indeed. The first step is realizing what's happening, the truth, and that truth will set you free. Christ is about liberty. It says in the scriptures that we're in all these things, we're more than conquerors. So people need to take an attitude of faith that they can rise up and they can take responsibility and they can do positive things. You're not sitting back and whining. You're getting up, you're standing up, and you're doing something.
No, exactly. I'm here to get people to realize the power they have, but the big problem is the churches, as you know, the World Council of Churches have been taken over. They tell them, lay down to tyranny. Of course, that's totally unbiblical, and I think that's our biggest problem. Talk about the infiltration of the churches by the Illuminati from your research, Fritz.
Wow. An earlier book that I came out with, Be Wise as Serpents, went denomination by denomination and showed how the leaders, how the churches had been, denominations had been created and how they were being controlled by the system. And, you look at Rockefeller foundations being used to finance a lot of these churches. So these churches, they're not going to bite the hand that feeds them. And then you also have the government coming in and in certain ways regulating these churches that become businesses. Across the board, we just see an apostasy where people have turned their back on the truth and are just going for a warm, fuzzy entertainment. The people can, it's such a vast subject that I can't even get into it, but they're welcome to look at some of my other material that I've written and get the details, because it can be documented how Christendom is just being controlled. Like you say, the World Council of Churches, you look at who has been the heads of the World Council of Churches and who's promoted it. Yeah, the war on Christmas and Christianity is happening from within. Just Christians notice the stuff that's overt, taking down crosses from without. But if the churches had leaders, they would be standing up and defeating this. They replace Easter with an egg. They replace Christ at Christmas with a demonic super dwarf running around with a Jack Daniels bottle named Santa Claus, which was actually 200 years ago in England. They would rape and rob and burn the city. Look it up, folks. Christmas was banned in England. It was so violent. It was a big devil worship holiday. But again, people don't know this. It's like Freddy Krueger night. Santa Claus is like Freddy Krueger. We'll be right back. Look, it's real simple. Some folks are born made to wait to fly.
There are a lot of really wicked, hardcore people who enjoy hurting others. And we just sit here and naively take it. That's why the police, the military, the whole system that I'm told to worship all day by the news, that's propaganda. I don't care who you are individually. The whole thing's illegitimate. I'm done playing games with the facade, okay? I'm done. I'm done. Got a bunch of crazy devil worshipers running the planet. Skull and Bones, Bohemian Grove. I've covered it. I've investigated it. I've broke into it. It's real. And it's crazy. And evil people run the planet because good people won't get up and stop them. And I'm sick of it. Let's go to Sarah in California. You're on the air with Fritz Springmeier. Go ahead.
Hi, I have a question about all these disappearances of people lately.
Yeah, I missed part of what you said. It's our phone system or whatever, your phone. But you have a question. Go ahead.
Fritz, I would like your take on all these disappearances of kids and people lately.
Well, I mean, most of them are getting kidnapped by big corporations and flying them overseas to Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Israel, other areas. They got black sites all over the place. These rich people pay high dollar to kill kids and eat them. It's a big part of their religion. Fritz Springmeier, what do they do with the kids they grab?
Wow. Yeah, a lot of them are used for sacrifices. That's one of the uses. Sometimes we have parents that are in a divorce that take a child, so there's also that factor coming into the statistics. We also have runaways, children that have just decided to be independent. So you have a lot of you have different things happening as far as the total statistics.
Oh yeah, a lot of the people they grab, the runaways though, end up getting grabbed by the bigger spiders.
And some of these young teenagers, they don't know what they're getting into. They run away from home, and they're grabbed by people and shipped over to some place like Saudi Arabia and turned into sexual slaves. There is white slavery. So a lot of really sad things happening. Not a pretty picture. And yeah, I spoke with one man who actually stopped. There were some children that had been kidnapped the day before Halloween, and he happened upon a human sacrifice by a satanic coven. He called the police, and the police told him, "You're deputized. You're going to go up there and help us stop this." And they ended up having to, as they approached the coven leader tried to go ahead and sacrifice these two little children, both of them blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and the police actually had to shoot the two coven leaders to prevent the sacrifice of these children.
And that happens all the time, and the police are told, it's come out in the news, but I've been told, they're told, call it a drug rage, and the person was going to hurt children. Every time they catch them, the media does not want it known there's devil worship. Why is that?
Yeah, well, who owns the media? We get, these medias are just one vast monopoly, and from the top down, they kill those stories. Yeah, I've talked to people repeatedly. Like one man, he photographed from a distance a satanic ritual happening, and he gave it to the he gave it to the state police.
Stay there, stay there.
You are listening to G.
Final segment with Fritz Springmeier. Fritz, that's a whole nother subject. I should get my research.